It's the Industrial Revolution. Well, how do we do anything in a practical way? We stick them on an assembly line, and as they go through, we kind of do something to the product, and then hopefully at the end we have a decent product. And so they essentially applied the same model to classrooms.
The country has been rapidly changing for the last 50 years. Things like our banks, our cities, our home, and our economy have changed so rapidly to a point that it's unrecognizable. But our country's school system has stayed stagnant for over its entire lifetime. Although the system has undergone some modifications,
in the worth of every single child,
it still has the majority of the same flaws rooted in the 19th century. Students are lectured for hours on facts that they'll have to regurgitate onto a test. Students are tested on how well they can remember facts, and individuality and movement is frowned upon by the system. Now, don't get me wrong. School is not horrible in any way. I believe that you do need an education to function well in society, but it just needs to improve so our children will be ready for our modern world. But currently, students are still being taught skills essential for the industrial era, not the modern era. Helen Keller would agree that the student is only as good as his teacher. Without good teachers, students won't learn their subjects probably, or find learning fun, or will be encouraged to learn. One major problem is that the job of a teacher is not paid well or respected, and they don't get vacation pay, which means they have to find a part-time job to accommodate. To stop this problem, we need to make the job of a teacher well paid and well sought after. I mean, after all, they do have one of the most important jobs in the world, shaping our future generation's future. In countries like Norway and Denmark, teachers are very well respected and paid well. These countries are first world countries which don't have many problems like a large school dropout population, because teachers are motivated to make the difference. If we follow their example, we wouldn't have many of the problems that we have today. It's not just the teachers, but the schools too. Even though we pay over $316 billion in taxes for education every year, each public school only receives $13,847 a year. This leaves many schools without enough money to buy new resources or new learning materials to make learning more appealing. We need to allocate more funding to help fund outdated and broken schools catch up to modern times. The look of schools needs to change too. Red brick walls and barbed fences aren't going to make learning any easier. We need to create a vibrant and encouraging learning environment so that kids feel comfortable. We need to change the way that schools teach children. Every child is different and brilliant in their own way, but we judge them all by one standard. In this way, we cause students who, for example, might be good at art, but not so much as math, to think themselves worthless, when they're quite the opposite.
Okay, so another thing I've noticed which shocked me was the amount of pressure for kids, obviously, to finish all their homework by a certain time at night. A lot of them are staying up past 11 doing their work. And studies have, I'm an acupuncturist, I know that studies have shown that a child needs to be in bed before 11 to have a full night REM sleep. But they're pressured to also do all these extracurricular activities. In Canada, it's not necessarily true. You don't have to have captain of this team and swim team. Of course it does help, but it's not something that's needed to get accepted into a decent university. You don't have to have so much pressure to have all these things to prove yourself. So I feel like it's just a lot of stress on the kids in comparison to what I experienced. And I have a master's degree. My husband's an engineer. We didn't have to do all those things to go to university. So that was a huge shock for us.
The system stifles creativity, which causes people who don't think the same way to force a part of who they are to change. The system also values quantity over quality, promoting incomplete understanding of topics, and students are moved along after a certain period of time, and not when they have fully mastered and understood the topic. Studies have shown that even after the first 2 years of college, 45% of students showed no gains in critical thinking. Without critical thinking, students cannot answer questions like, what do I want to do with my life? And what am I good for? Students don't know how to answer these questions because in school they are taught to memorize and repeat, not to really think and understand. A possible solution to this crisis is by not putting down, but by encouraging special skills which students have. Involve what students like to do and include rewards, but don't turn into an incentive or else they'll learn the wrong lesson, that everything comes with a reward. Play interactive games, use experiments, and think outside of the box to imbue students with the idea that learning is a good thing. You have to allocate more funding for the schools and for teachers. Make people motivated to be teachers. People's love for kids isn't enough to make people take a 4-year college course on becoming a teacher, only to get paid a below-than-average salary. Update student textbooks and technology so students receive modern and reliable information. Encourage students to open up about personal problems at home or at school, so that way we can stop mental health issues, bullying, and depression in one swift move. Our personal vision for 2020 is to make students passionate to go to school and teachers passionate about teaching. Schools are one of the most important things in our lives because it shapes the kids who are going to become the creators of tomorrow's paradise.